Hi, my name is Lauren Hoskins, and I'm Maddie Kate DeZorn's mommy. We are here today to share our experience with her genetic disease, which is Spinal Cerebellar Ataxia recessive type 2. It's a gene that her father and I both had, and neither one of us knew until Maddie was born. And she started showing symptoms when she was 6 months old. It attacks her muscles and it makes her a little weaker than everybody else. And so her cerebellum, which is the back part of her brain, is much smaller than what it normally should be. When she was 6 months old, her eyes started crossing. And we went to an ophthalmologist at UK, and she wanted to start out with glasses because she thought that would correct the crossing. And so we tried the glasses and it didn't help, and she turned a year old in July of 2016. And so that October we actually ended up having to have surgery for the correction of her eyes crossing. And so then we all thought, well, she'll walk because she hadn't walked by then. She's gonna walk, and her ophthalmologist was very positive that she would walk because she thought it was her depth perception that was off due to her eyes crossing, and the walking never come. And so then we went to see a neurologist in Cincinnati. So we found out in May of 2018 Maddie's diagnosis, and she would be turning 3 in July of that same year. So it took quite a bit of time to actually find out what was really going on with the genetic testing. Like, the original lab ended up closing down, then that had to get sent to another lab, and it was a long, just miserable process really, because we just had no answers and we didn't know where to go from there. And so actually when they called and told us the diagnosis, they told us the wrong one. And so the one that they told us originally was very progressive, she's only going to live till she's 10. And so for 2 weeks, we just was miserable because we didn't know what was next. And we got up there and we was in Cincinnati, and they tell us that we've told you the wrong type. It's the same disease, it's just a different type, which made a huge world of difference. And that's why we still have Maddie Kate here at 9, taking her first steps by herself. So day to day with Maddie Kate is different from what it would be with a normal kid. It requires one-on-one attention. There's stuff that we've sometimes had to sit out with because she does get more tired easily than other kids, just because of her muscles and wearing her out. So we have been left out of some stuff that we just have to say, okay, that's just not for us right now. And since the last 2.5 years, especially her being in physical therapy at school and here, she's made a tremendous progress with everything. She's, walking in her walker on her own by herself, so she is able to do some things and go and get something, or walk to me if I'm having to be in the kitchen and she's in the living room at the same time. So it is improved, but at first it was very challenging just because, somebody always had to be right there with her because, we had to take her to the bathroom, we had to do this with her. Just everyday, day-to-day living. Mike and Paige started seeing Maddie at school once we kind of got everything. We learned everything from what we needed to do for Maddie Kate to let her progress the best that she could progress. We started getting her in therapies at school that they were seeing her, and Mike and Paige come there to start seeing her. And they were seeing her 30 minutes for one day every week. And so we kind of wanted to do more because we thought maybe that would help her. So we went and we got the doctor's orders to come here and start seeing Paige, because if you know Maddie Kate, she's very reserved and she takes just a little bit of time to warm up to you. And she was already comfortable with him after maybe crying a couple times because she was nervous. But she was comfortable, so we decided to come here, and ever since then she's made leaps and bounds with her progress. She's come so far. She's took her own steps by herself, and she's blossoming into her own person. So on the day that she took her steps by herself, I didn't really know that it was going to happen. I knew they had been working on it, and there had been, they got close and different things. And Paige called me back here to show me, and she took her first steps all by herself. And so it was very overwhelming because, all through from when she was 6 months old until then when she was 8, there's been hope. There's always been hope. I've never lost hope. It's just sometimes it's been slower in other places. And you kind of get discouraged along the way, just with being pulled here and pulled there. And I can remember her taking her first steps, and all I could do was thank God because it had finally come. Because that's all we ever really wanted to see for her, was just her walking on her own and being just her own person. I've talked about how it affected us as taking care of her, but Maddie don't like to be different. Maddie don't want to be looked at like she's different. And I know it affects her just like it affects us. So, I know for her walking that day, it was just as big to her as it was to us, whether our hearts are happy, And that's all I could think about, is how happy she was going to be that she was going to get to be like everybody else. My message for everyone that is dealing with disadvantages like we have dealt with is to just never give up. Seek out all the help that you can seek. And I know that it's hard, and I know that it puts you in tough spots sometimes, but just never stop, because one day you're going to have the moment that Maddie Kate had, and you're going to get to see the joy on their faces and the relief in your heart. And I want everybody to be able to experience that, because it's one that I'll never forget.
My name is Paige Daly. I'm a physical therapist. I have been here at this clinic for approximately 25 years now. I am the lead physical therapist here at our clinic. I first met Maddie when she started school, as we were the lead therapist in the school system. So I've worked with her off and on since that time, but she became a patient here in our clinic approximately a year and a half ago. And it was during that time she initially presented on a reverse walker. She wasn't independent with the walker, so we first worked on helping her gain that independence with the walker, which she was able to do. We have continued to progress her with various gait and balance coordination activities here in the clinic. She has worked hard, put forth amazing effort to overcome her deficits. Maddie has cerebellar ataxia, so there is significant deficits in her coordination. And earlier this year, here in the clinic, Maddie was able to take her first steps ever independently. So when those steps were taken, her mother was present. My secretary, which also happens to be a relative of Maddie's, was also present to witness it. Maddie's mom was videotaping. Me, along with our PTA, was providing assistance to Maddie, because due to her confidence, it's not something that she would just take off and do on her own. We had to provide just that constant, close supervision, let her know we're there in case something happens. So we're walking her. I'm starting to hear tears, crying behind me. And I think at that moment, we didn't realize the gravity of the situation. We're just with Maddie. We're, just letting her walk. And it was later on, I think maybe that evening, when I sat down at home and it hit me. This is the first steps that this little girl has ever taken on her own. And, at that point, then the tears started with me. And just it's those moments like that that make this job worth everything. It's then that you realize you're exactly where God wanted you to be. And that is just such a blessing. So I'm hoping that by sharing Maddie's story, that we will encourage others to look into physical therapy. So no matter what kind of deficits you may be facing, oftentimes you're unsure of really what is available to help you. As physical therapists, we're addressing all sorts of neurological disorders every day. Anything from pediatric disorders such as cerebellar ataxia, even Parkinson's, stroke. So don't be afraid to look into it. We're here, and that's what we're here for, is to help you regain your function.
Take your time, very slow.
Paige is the best.
Good job.